If you've ever been on the wrong end of an unscrupulous sales pitch, door-to-door water heater deals, for example, or found yourself subject to fees you didn't know you'd agreed to, you presumably expected there was somewhere to turn for help. There is, but it's been 2 decades since Ontario's Consumer Protection Act was updated. The province is doing that work right now, so let's find out what should be included from lawyer Dennis Crawford, who founded OntarioHVACscam.com, and Daniel Tsai, lecturer on technology and business at the University of Toronto and Toronto Metropolitan University, and he's also editor of Consumer Rights.ca. Good to have you two gents in those chairs, because let's get into this. Daniel, why has the Ontario government decided to modernize the Consumer Protection Act in the first place?
Well, it's antiquated. It's unfortunately not meeting the demands of consumers in Ontario. The technology has changed, and there's a lot of scams going on, and there's a real need to have the government update the legislation.
Who would be affected by whatever changes are coming in?
All consumers in Ontario.
So if you buy something, you need to know about this.
Products, services, we're doing things online. A lot of things are now e-commerce based, and this act should be updated to address their concerns.
How about the other side of it? Businesses as well, do they need to know about this?
Well, they will, because they'll be impacted by it. So with every change in law and regulation, it may have a consequential impact on businesses as well. So it's a delicate balance.
Got it. Dennis, how robust would you say the province's consumer protection laws are right now?
You know, I would say that Ontario really has quite a robust consumer protection regime. But as Daniel said, absolutely it needs to be updated to match changes in the marketplace. But compared to lots of jurisdictions in North America, Ontario's consumer protection regime is really quite robust.
When you say changes in the marketplace, is that a reference to the fact that so much of our economy is digital now?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I mean, we were already a pretty digital economy before COVID, but the COVID-19 pandemic really accelerated Ontario's transition to a digital economy.
Now, this is an Ontario law we're talking about, but do the feds have a role in this as well?
Well, it really depends on jurisdiction. So in terms of banking and things under federal powers, it's separate than what Ontario can do. Ontario's more about private contracts and regulating like leases and individual type contracts with businesses.
Okay. Did the, we always want to find out how COVID affected everything. So tell us whether or not consumers were more affected by scams during COVID as opposed to outside of that period.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to say whether they were more affected during the pandemic, but anecdotally, I think they probably were, probably because people were so isolated during the pandemic. And especially the people who are most vulnerable to scams, like the elderly or disabled Ontarians, they were even more isolated and removed from their usual supports. So it was just that much easier for them to fall for scams or unscrupulous business practices.
And do we know, in fact, that that happened, that the elderly were not only seemingly more vulnerable, but they did get taken advantage of more?
Indeed. Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre showed a dramatic increase in scams during 2020 and 22. And that's largely due in part to the fact that scammers decided to prey on people at home.
Want to give an example of maybe the most typical or worst example?
Well, everyone's gotten those spam texts and spam calls, and people trying to sell various products or alleging that you're in trouble with the CRA and so forth. Those things saw a huge increase during that period of time.
Are there particular sectors where this seems to happen more often than not?
Yes, I mean, the reason I started OntarioHVACscam.com was because of a problem I saw in my own practice as a community lawyer in Southern Ontario. I saw people coming in to the law office to sell their house and being surprised to learn that they had a lien against their property that was put there by the company that they were leasing their furnace or their water heater from. And this is, in my opinion, a loophole in Ontario law that allows companies to register a lien if they own the equipment in your house that you're renting, like your water softener or water filter.
We should just a little explanation here, because if you don't own a house, you may not know what a lien, L-I-E-N, against your house is. You want to just explain?
Yes, and the technical legal name is a notice of security interest. But a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. For all intents and purposes, it's a legal instrument that's registered on title to your house. And if you have one of those on your house, you won't be able to refinance or sell your house without first getting that lien deleted.
It's almost as if you don't own the house anymore. It's in stasis, right, in some respects.
In a sense, they almost, if they have one of these liens registered, they can effectively hold your house hostage until you pay out the lien. And the problem is the companies who register these liens are demanding payouts that are many times the value of the equipment that's actually been installed at the property.
I'm going to ask you to give us an example of this in a second, but before we get there, everybody becomes a pretty quick expert on consumer protection once they've been, I think the technical term is, screwed over. But before that, how up on things do you think the general public is on consumer protection?
I'm not very aware of what's going on. In fact, the issue is the lack of education and sophistication as well, because the scammers are always well ahead and they're gaming the system.
How do we get smarter then?
Well, one thing is through education, but also having mechanisms such as updating the act. So there are legal tools to put the onus on businesses to ensure that they're using the legal system fairly. So you don't have the situation that Dennis has talked about, and as well giving consumers more rights. So there's presumptions in favor of them as opposed to the business.
I mean, the scammers are always going to be ahead of the victims, right? So it's presumably incumbent upon businesses themselves to be up on what's required here, as opposed to the people who are just trying to buy a product. Is that fair to say?
It is, but I think one of the drawbacks is the fact that the legislation itself has not been updated. It's so antiquated that they can take advantage of loopholes or things that the legislation doesn't talk about, because back then they didn't have Airbnb and they didn't have online commerce.
Right. Okay. Let's get into the fine print here, shall we? What have you got for us here?
Well, I was mentioning that companies register liens on houses when they have rented equipment at that house. So I had a client in Kitchener, an elderly gentleman, and unfortunately suffers from some disabilities and is basically shut in at his house. He was visited by a door-to-door salesman, and even though that's been illegal since 2018, selling HVAC and plumbing equipment door-to-door, they still came to his door and convinced him to agree to rent a water filter. So I looked at this water filter at my local hardware store, went to the website of my local hardware store, and they're selling this very water filter, the same make, model, and serial number, for $169.99 plus HST.
It says right there what the price is.
Yeah.
Not very much.
Not much at all.
Okay.
So they came and installed this in his house, and the very next day, the company that leased this water filter registered a lien on my client's property for $13,360.39.
For a $170 piece of equipment.
Exactly. And that's the big problem with these liens, is there's no consumer safeguards. You can register them in any dollar amount you want.
So this was not a case of a misunderstanding between seller and buyer. This is a pure-out scam.
Absolutely. It's something like 50 or 60 times the actual value of the equipment that's in the house.
How did you resolve this?
Litigation is still ongoing.
No kidding. Because this would seem like a slam dunk case for you, right?
Yes, and I'm very optimistic that when we get to our court hearing that justice will be done. But unfortunately for consumers, their only option really is to go to court if they're in this situation. And that is cumbersome, expensive if you hire a lawyer, and very time consuming. And so one of the things that should be looked at by the ministry, and I know they are looking at this, is finding ways to fashion remedies for consumers that are less expensive and easier to access.
Is it, in your experience, even possible to shut down these kind of scam artists?
Well, the unfortunate thing is they bank on the fact that the litigation process is super expensive. They're dealing with unsophisticated litigants. You know, grandma and grandpa don't want to go to court. And so the reality is they're exploiting the system.
But in your experience, would somebody actually pay off a $13,000 lien against their home in order to get this scammer out of their life? Does that happen?
Yeah,
It does.
in desperation, because there have been instances where people need to sell their home. They've taken on a new job and they have to move, and they didn't know that this security interest was registered against their property.
And just to follow up on that, people who have agreed to sell their house, they have to get the lien deleted, and they're at risk of being sued by the purchasers of their house if they don't get the lien deleted. So the companies that carry out this business model are keenly aware of how much leverage they have in that situation.
And I guess it's possible that your client might end up spending more than 13 grand to get this thing dispensed with at court. So in some respects, it might be financially more advantageous just to pay off the scammer rather than take him to court.
And that's what a lot of these companies are counting on.
My goodness. How does somebody, okay, Daniel, help us out here. How does somebody who finds themselves in this pickle, how do they invoke whatever protections are in the Consumer Protection Act to help them out of it?
Well, they can file a complaint with the Ontario Consumer Protection Agency. The only issue is CBC did a great report on this. There's been 400 complaints with respect to one company, and didn't do anything to resolve the situation. That's an ongoing litigation. It gets dragged out, and unfortunately, solutions don't come quickly. So these people are still stuck in a pickle.
400 complaints against one company. Whose obligation is it to put that company out of business?
It's on the Ontario government, really.
And why isn't it happening?
I think part of it is, from my perspective, as a guy that is being, a legislative drafter, policy analyst, part of it is the ineffectiveness of the system. They don't have the resources. They tend to be gun shy when it comes to litigation.
Gun shy against somebody with 400 complaints against them?
Because it's resource-based. A lot of them think that, it's not worth our effort to pursue, prosecution. There's probably, when there's criminal charges involved, for instance, it's a high burden, it's mens rea, which means you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And these companies try to basically grind it out so that they cause the government to try to settle it or basically try to drop the charges.
This is, can we talk a little politics here? I mean, the Ford government prides itself on being out there for the little guy. This would seem to be like right in the wheelhouse of this premier and this government to go after this issue. Are they pursuing it with enough haste in your view?
In my view, they haven't been, though in defense of the current government, I would say over the last 2.5 years, they did have other legislative priorities. But now that the COVID pandemic is mostly in the rearview mirror, I would like to see them step up. And really what I'd like to see them do is not create a legislative solution that makes it easier for consumers to get these predatory liens off their houses. What they should do is they should just make it impossible to put those liens on title in the first place.
Which presumably you can do with legislation.
Correct.
So it's just about writing the right, okay, you're the policy guy. Can you write legislation that does that?
You sure can. In fact, I look at the example of BC. There, they treat them separately. You have the PPSA, which is Personal Property Security Registry. And so things like this would not be allowed to be registered per se unless there's exceptional circumstances, and you have to register a renewal every single year to maintain that interest or the lien on the property. The other thing that I really like about BC is when it comes to things like builder's liens, you have a year to file a Supreme Court BC action, which forces the builder, or in this case the vendor, to go through a court process that's lengthy and expensive to collect a relatively small amount of money. So I think if you reverse the onus and put it back onto these companies here in Ontario, they're scamming Ontarians, that's the way to do it, is put the onus on them, have these NOSIs expire.
NOSI?
The Notice of Security Interest that Dennis was talking about. These liens, have them expire within a time frame, and so the onus is on them to actually pursue the claim if they have a legitimate one.
And that would balance the playing field a little more anyway.
I think so, because you're changing the onus from putting all the pressure on the consumer, putting it back onto these companies.
Now, we hear about these stories when they become very high profile, like when they're particularly egregious, the media will report on this stuff. But I don't know, you tell me, does a lot of this happen, but most of it fly under the radar?
Absolutely. Now, folks in the media have been doing a great job over the last few years. A number of consumer affairs journalists at this network and others have been bringing this story forward. And we're just hoping to build awareness for a couple of reasons. One, so hopefully people are more aware of this and don't fall victim to this scam. but also hopefully this process will lead to some legislative changes that will benefit consumers.
A political question for you this time, Daniel. I mean, there's a pecking order in cabinet. Let's be blunt about this. You know, the finance minister, the health minister, the education minister, they're up at the top. The consumer minister is not considered a significant ministry. Consumer minister is considered well down the pecking order. Is that part of the problem here, in as much as it's, and I'm not even going to make a comment about the current minister, but generally speaking, do you get junior people in that portfolio and therefore they don't have a lot of political heft to get this thing solved?
That's definitely true. It's not a high-profile portfolio, but at the same time, Doug Ford's brand is about the little guy. And all these stories on CBC Marketplace, on TVO, they're geared towards the little guy getting screwed over. And this is really in Doug Ford's wheelhouse to take this up as an issue.
There are various servants of the legislature, I think of the patient ombudsman, for example, or the ombudsman in general, whose responsibility it is to take complaints from the public on a variety of issues and see them through. Do we need a consumer advocate in the province of Ontario?
We do have an Office of Consumer Protection Ontario. I'm not sure if it's called a directorate or an office or what its title is, but we have one. It's called Consumer Protection Ontario, and they have investigators, and they can lay charges and issue compliance orders under the Consumer Protection Act. And they do great work, but it is understaffed and it's not well-resourced, and consumers who have filed complaints through that avenue have found themselves waiting a very long time for any sort of remedy.
Can I get you on that? Do they have enough power in that office?
I don't think they do, and that's why they're trying to update the legislation. But I think the key is this. The federal government announced as late as 2019 that they were going to put in a federal consumer advocate. The time is now here in Ontario with this new legislation to do the same thing in Ontario. And what that would do is you have an independent third party, similar to the Auditor General, that would flag these issues and constantly update the law, or at least put pressure on the government to update the law so that it addresses consumer rights on a timely basis.
How do you think that would change things?
I think, as they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And by having this consumer advocate here in Ontario that's independently operating like an Auditor General, things will get done.
Dennis, give people some advice right now. You already told us earlier that people are not allowed to sell door-to-door these HVAC systems that you pointed out. That's illegal in Ontario. So if somebody knocks on your door trying to sell you this, what do you do?
Honestly, and it's unfortunate that we have to give this advice, but if someone knocks on your door or rings your phone and you're not expecting them, don't answer the door, don't engage with them. Because if they're selling you something, if it sounds too good to be true, it almost certainly is, and you may find yourself in a whole bunch of legal trouble that you didn't expect.
Do these salespeople, are they particularly smooth at what they do?
They are seasoned professionals. It is a well-rehearsed sales pitch, and I've seen the training manuals that their company gives them, and it is a well-rehearsed sales pitch and very effective, especially if you're, for example, a senior or someone with declining cognitive capacity who might be susceptible to this sort of thing.
Okay, do it.
Oh my
You're the
goodness.
guy knocking on the door. I answer the door. I'm 85 years old, living on my own, maybe a touch of dementia, which may be the case soon enough anyway, if it isn't already. Okay, take me through it. How does it go?
The first thing I would do is I would ask to see your gas bills. And I'd walk you through your gas bills and tell you these charges are way too high. Look at how much you're paying every month. If you rent a new furnace from my company, I'll replace your old furnace. And by the way, Steve, your old furnace is leaking gas and it's dangerous to your health. So you need a new one anyway. And I might even tell you that you're legally required to replace it. And so once I've given you the carrot of I can reduce your gas bills and the stick of the fear that your furnace is dangerous, it's poisoning your house, and I'll lay it on thick and tell you how much I like your tie and I like what you've done with the living room, and let's sit down around your kitchen table and just sign here. Don't bother reading the fine print, just sign here and we'll be back tomorrow with your new furnace.
My signature on the paper, you're very persuasive, and I do want to save all that money, so I'm going to sign right there on the dotted line. I do have some time, though, to get out of that, don't I, before it becomes effective?
Yes, there is a 10-day cooling off period under the Consumer Protection Act for any reason or even no reason whatsoever. And consumers need to know that that 10 days you can cancel even if they've delivered the equipment and installed it. So anytime during that 10 days, if you have second thoughts, you can cancel.
Okay, let's finish up on this. Artificial intelligence. It is arguably going to play a huge role on the digital landscape, and presumably the scammers are all over that and figuring out how to make it work for them and against consumers. How are consumer protection laws going to protect us against something that we are only beginning to understand?
Well, here's a huge implication. We know about Tesla. We know about the fact that they talk about their cars being incredibly intelligent. They even call them full self-driving, which some have argued that that's deceptive advertising. So what you really need is to address the consumer protection aspect in terms of the advertising and have a code of ethics in place so that companies can't just go and claim something that isn't actually true. And at the same time, the use of artificial intelligence raises ethical questions because, as we see from ChatGPT, they can give the illusion of being able to convince people and scam them. And so there have to be guardrails in place for that.
Last word to you on that.
Oh boy, artificial intelligence is such an emerging area. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what the future is going to look like when, as consumers, pretty much all of the contracts at some time in the near future, pretty much all of the contracts we're going to be entering into are written by computers. And so we have much to look forward to on that front.
Keep on keeping on, you two. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Dennis Crawford, Daniel Tsai, thanks for coming into TVO tonight.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.